You're just living off your parents at your age, Lily. Leeches like you should leave. This is going to be our house. Emily, my 8-year-old niece, said with a smirk. My sister Anne and her husband Sam chuckled beside her. I could tell what kind of parenting they were doing, judging by Emily's rude comment. I felt anger building inside me. My name's Lily, and I live with my parents in their house. I used to live on my own, but I moved back home because I was worried about my aging parents. I love my job, and I'm not interested in relationships. I never planned to get married. One reason I moved back home was to spend time with my parents. My dad used to be a chef, and he's still great at cooking. Even though he's retired, he cooks for us at home, and I love his meals. When I lived alone, I missed his cooking. So that's one reason I came back home, but I keep that to myself. When I moved back home, I decided to help out with the household. My mom retired from her part-time job, which she had for years. She was unsure about retiring, but I suggested it might be a good time. Both my parents have been doing physically demanding jobs, and I convinced them to quit, telling them they didn't need to push themselves anymore. Since I've been helping to support the household, I'm often a mess outside of work, and I'm not great at keeping the house tidy. That's why I appreciate that my parents are at home to take care of chores. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement between us. But disrupting the stable setup are my sister and her family. They show up almost every week, uninvited. They drive 30 minutes to our house and expect meals. My sister justifies it by saying it saves on their food expenses, so they come every week. She's aware that raising a child costs a lot, and her husband Sam doesn't deny it. They would eat the meals my dad cooked as if it was their entitlement, then leave without cleaning up. This became their weekly routine, and even though they just came, ate, and left, I might have tolerated it without getting angry. But my sister's other behaviors were unacceptable. Every time before leaving, Anne would rummage around our house, taking things she thought could be sold on an online flea market app. So I've had to hide my accessories and important clothes in the back of my closet. On top of that, she would go through our fridge, taking food ingredients without asking us. When I pointed out that it would be a crime if she were a stranger, she dismissed me, saying, "You wouldn't understand, Lily. It's tough to keep a household running when you're married." But Anne isn't the only selfish one. Emily, who inherited her mother's traits, has become more and more like her as she grew up. "Ew, this is gross," Emily would say, making a sour face at the meal my dad made. Neither Anne nor Sam would scold her. The meal was made by my dad, who's a retired chef, and it was always something to be proud of. But Emily complained, "I can't eat this, it's disgusting. I want cake." When Sam heard that Emily wanted cake, he turned to me and asked if we had any. Even I couldn't help but frown and respond, "Huh." Sensing potential trouble, my father quickly stepped between Sam and me, apologizing, saying, "Sorry, we didn't prepare any cake. Did you not enjoy today's meal, Emily?" Emily seemed rather displeased, saying, "It's always yucky. I only want to eat sweet things. Desserts are the best. I don't want to eat Grandpa's food." Though I found it convenient and cost-saving, if Emily said so, we had no choice. "Dad, Mom, please prepare some sweets and cake for Emily next week," Sam requested. I couldn't forgive my sister, Anne, for accepting Emily's selfishness as a matter of course and bossing our parents around. However, if I spoke out now, our already shrinking parents would feel even more troubled. I pitied them and couldn't bring myself to complain that day either, as Anne's family, as always, finished looking through our house. I couldn't believe the audacity, acting that way just because it's their parents' house. It was unforgivable. Exposing my anger, my mother apologized, saying it was her fault for not having the cake ready. "I'm sorry," she said, while my father silently discarded the leftover food prepared for Emily. My heart ached at the sight of my parents' actions. I spent the following week contemplating whether I should tell Anne and her family not to visit anymore, only to have them arrive at our home yet again without any notice, as if it were a matter of course. Anne's family walked in, asking, "Is dinner ready yet?" Emily complained about the cake my mother had bought, saying, I prefer one with more strawberries. Sam changed the television channel without asking. Seeing my sister and her family doing as they pleased as usual, I was flabbergasted. When my father's cooking was ready, Anne and Sam were enjoying their meal, chatting, and even sharing a bottle of wine. Emily, dissatisfied with the cake we bought and refusing to eat a single bite of the meal, was playing a game on her smartphone, saying, "Grandpa and Grandma are really useless. I wish them to leave sooner." Suddenly, she cheerfully mentioned, "Oh, right, we decided to move into this house from next week." My voice echoed with surprise, and it seemed that my parents, who hadn't heard this before, were equally shocked. Sam supplemented Anne's announcement, saying, "It's a hassle to drive here every week. Besides, if we live together, we can save even more on groceries, and we won't have to pay rent." Unable to utter a word, my parents stayed silent, and I finally objected. "Wait a minute, that's quite sudden. We don't have enough rooms, and you're planning to live here without contributing financially. That's way too presumptuous." Sam's face contorted at my words, but it was Emily, not them, who rebutted first. "Lily is an embarrassing adult who needs to move out anyway," Emily said, setting her smartphone on the table and staring at me defiantly. "What do you mean by I need to move out, Lily? Aren't you a parasite living off your parents at your age? Parasites should get out. This will be our house." Emily, sounding smug, received stifled laughs from Anne and Sam. For a moment, I wondered if an 8-year-old should talk this way. I had to do a double take with Emily, all of 8 years old, calling me a parasite. Based on the reactions of Anne and Sam, I assumed that they had indoctrinated their daughter to think of me in such derogatory terms. "No, Emily, don't say such things. It'll hurt Lily's feelings," I heard my mother say. "I don't want to live with Lily. I want her gone by next week. It's embarrassing to live with a parasite. What if my friends find out?" Emily was looking at me as if I were garbage, while Anne and Sam were chuckling beside her. I felt a surge of anger after tolerating their behavior for so long. "All right, as per your wishes, I will leave by next week. Rest assured," I responded. Anne's family seemed satisfied with my response, laughing as usual without helping clean up. My parents looked terrified at the prospect of living with Anne's family, but they were relieved when I proposed a solution. There was so much to do before Anne's family moved in. My parents helped out, and it was a great relief. The house had been tidied up, and the move was complete, just as little Emily asked. I effectively moved out of the house for them. The day arrived when Anne's family was supposed to move in. I was busy organizing myself in my new place. I missed my old house where I had lived for so many years, but the new place was nice, and I felt a sense of relief knowing that I wouldn't be irked every time Anne's family visited. While I was engrossed in cleaning and apparently trying to reach me on the phone, my phone rang again, showing numerous missed calls from Anne. I picked up. "Lily, why didn't you pick up earlier? There's a problem with our house," she cried. "Well, it's my house, actually. I've already demolished it," I said, half chuckling. "What have you done?" she screamed. I could only imagine their shock when they arrived to find the house in the midst of demolition. You see, when I had moved back to support my parents, the house was transferred to my name. It was my decision to demolish it. I figured it was better to knock it down than let Anne's family take it over. The house was old anyway, and my parents agreed with my decision. Emily's comments about me being a parasite were therefore greatly misguided. I explained all of this to Anne. "You and Emily have said a lot of wrong things about me. It's not good to educate your daughter like this. It'd be a pity if Emily turned out to be like you," I told her, my voice dripping with sarcasm. She seemed more shocked than anything else. She selfishly ran her mouth and then came to me almost in tears, asking, "What should we do? After all, we've already terminated our lease and moved out from our previous house. We're going to end up homeless." Emily's still only 8 years old. Maybe it's good for Emily to experience hardship. I responded casually while continuing to clean. Anne started crying, saying, "How could you be so heartless?" I thought that should be my line. Who was it that repeatedly insulted me through their own words and through their daughter? I asked her. I'm sorry. I'll make Emily apologize too. Please, just for tonight. Let us stay in your new place, she begged. No can do. Both Dad and Mom are now scared to meet you. You always say negative things. Our new home is fully accessible, and they both seem to like it. Please stop interfering with our happiness, I replied, hanging up the phone mercilessly. Afterwards, Anne kept calling numerous times, but I ignored her. It seemed like she also tried to reach out to our parents, but they too ignored her calls. Eventually, the relentless calls stopped. Presumably, Anne and her family managed to find a place to stay. When I wondered where they went, my mother explained the situation to Dad and me a few days later. Apparently, Anne had been sending messages to Mom via text only. It seems she's now staying with Sam's parents. Sam's mom, Anne's mother-in-law, is a very strict woman when it comes to rules and manners. Anne disliked her and appears to be struggling living under the roof of such a stern mother-in-law. Emily, too, who used to be spoiled rotten, seems to be learning a lot from this strict mother-in-law. There's no doubt she would have grown into a terrible adult if she continued her old ways. So, in retrospect, this seems to be a good thing. It may be tough on Emily, but it's unavoidable. I hope she'll manage to become a well-mannered grown-up. It seems Anne and Sam were more broke than we imagined. Sam was a fan of gambling, frequently squandering his money on various bets. Anne wasn't against gambling and didn't stop him, even enjoying it with him at times. However, they accumulated a substantial amount of debt due to their gambling. In order to repay this debt, it seems that they wanted to live with our parents. I was dumbfounded by how audacious their reason was. Sam ended up returning to his parents' house, but reportedly disappeared after a few days. Whether he ran away of his own accord, due to being chased by debt collectors, or was forcibly taken away to work, it was unclear. Regardless, since he left a note saying, "I'm leaving home. Please don't search for me." The police treated it as a case of him simply leaving home. Without any savings, he is now apparently working multiple jobs from dawn to dusk. Anne is sending daily messages to Mom about her hardships, but it seems Mom has no intention of helping Anne. We raised her that way, but I think this is a necessary trial for her, Mom said. For your information, our parents and Sam's parents are on good terms and frequently communicate. When Mom apologized to Sam's mom for the trouble caused by Anne and Emily, Sam's mom energetically responded, "Having these kids who are worth educating has added some spice to my life. I apologize for the trouble my son caused. As an apology, I'll make sure to educate my daughter-in-law and granddaughter well." Anyway, my parents and I are relieved to have cut ties with Anne and her family. We're relishing the fact that we can now spend our days without the constant dread and annoyance. Dad, who had lost some confidence in his cooking after Emily's criticism, is now joyfully showing off his culinary skills thanks to our new house with a spacious kitchen. I've always loved Dad's cooking, and every time I say delicious, he seems more motivated to cook. Mom, who used to get exhausted every time Anne's family visited and lost the energy to go outside, is now often going out since we moved. She joined a local club and resumed her old hobby of painting. My mom's forte is watercolor painting. She's always joyfully crafting her artwork under the gentle guidance of her teacher. Recently, she's been heading out to the park with a sketchbook in hand to draw various objects and scenes. We're eagerly looking forward to the upcoming exhibition by the art club my mom is a part of, and we plan to attend. My life continues as it always has, busy but enjoyable. As I continue doing the work I love, the constant nagging from my sister and her family has finally ceased, reducing my stress levels significantly. It wasn't until I felt this relief that I realized just how much stress they had been causing me. It's refreshing to remember just how bright and cheerful I can be. My parents are aging, but they are enjoying their lives now, which makes me happy. Even if they eventually need care, our home is equipped with accessibility features, making caregiving easier. Lily, thanks to you, we are so happy. We truly appreciate it, My mother-in-law often says, "My father echoes her sentiments with a warm smile and a heartfelt thank you." In part, my devotion to my parents was born from a desire not to have regrets when the inevitable separation comes. However, seeing them so pleased is the greatest reward. I want to continue living this slow-paced, warm life and will do what I can to ensure our daily lives remain this way.